it's Sunny. I hope you've been well and I've really missed you. I spent all morning walking around central London, really just trying to become reacquainted with this city because so much has changed here in the past 2 years. So it really seemed like the best time to relaunch the channel. If you're interested in my direct and honest information about how London has changed over the past 2 years, stay tuned. Because it was far too windy on the embankment, I came home so I could give you all this information with no distractions. If you're new to the channel, hi, I'm Sunny. I'm an American living in London. I've been here about 10 years. My husband and his whole family were London born, and I met him when I worked at NBC News London Bureau. The Sunny News is unique because we offer both an American and a British perspective, and we're two seasoned professionals from the media industry. So if you're looking for behind-the-scenes guides to London's food, life, and culture, then this is the channel for you. In this video, we'll go through the things that are different in London since the onset of the pandemic in early 2020. Londoners, please listen to all the points carefully, and then in the comments, add anything that you feel is also different from your perspective. Walking around central London, you'll notice there's a lot more al fresco dining, which means we look a lot more European. The irony behind this is Brexit happened, and we finally left the EU. I say we because I also got my UK citizenship in the past year. If you think that's cool, give the video a like. You'll also find changes on the streets. Many have been designated as pedestrian access or cycle lanes have been created. I don't have a UK driver's license yet. It's actually next on the list, but Mr. Sunny does, and he wanted me to highlight for you the changes that have happened on Euston Road. In some areas, it's one lane due to the addition of cycle lanes, and he finds that you may get stuck in traffic quite often on that road. Tottenham Court Road is northbound one way, and Gower Street and Warren Street are half pedestrian and blocked off for traffic. And those are just a few examples from the King's Cross Fitzrovia area. His advice for driving in central London is watch out for sneaky side streets because quite a few have changed their type of access. The other thing that he noted is many high streets have used what used to be parking to allow for more pedestrian access so they can socially distance. Now we'll talk about scooters. You need to watch out everywhere for them. On Monday, June 7th, electric scooters, also known as e-scooters, became available to rent in some London boroughs. This is the only way to legally ride an e-scooter on public roads or in other public places in London. I find that trains are much less crowded now in London. That will change as tourists start coming back in bigger numbers, but there's still going to be people that are choosing to work from home for quite some time. I've noticed in my weekly emails from TfL that they have changed the suggested quieter times to travel. In the emails, they're now listing that quieter times are between 8:15 and 4 p.m. and after 5:30 on weekdays. Regardless of when you're traveling on a TfL train or bus, it is required that unless you're exempt, you wear a face covering. COVID has also caused people's perspectives to change on how they want to live in central London. You'll find that many affluent people are now seeking to be outside of London and even greater London and moving to places like Hertfordshire where they can get more garden and living space. Sadly, many independent restaurants and businesses, as well as chains, have had to close. For example, I was shocked today when I walked through Neal's Yard and found that Wild Food Cafe had closed. Places like Pret have closed locations in areas like the city because of so many people working from home and there not being a need for them to have ready-to-eat food during work hours. My advice to you is if there's a favorite restaurant or even pub that you want to go to, get online and make sure that they're still open before you plan your visit. We showed up at the Sherlock Holmes pub one day and found it was closed because they came in contact with a COVID case. Now, today when I walked by, they were fully opened. It's not all doom and gloom though in London. There are some fantastic places that have opened since the pandemic started. Two I want to highlight for you that are hot right now are Ave Maria and Park Row. If you go do some research on Park Row, you will see when you go inside and eat there, you're actually supposed to feel like you're in Gotham City. The Tower of London isn't going anywhere. However, if you're planning to go to a London attraction, get online and check out their operating hours. For example, if you go to the London Eye's website, you'll see that in comparison to previous summers, they are operating at reduced hours. Also, museums have changed how they do things. We were very lucky when we went to the V&A for the Alice in Wonderland exhibition that we arrived early because we found that the entrance was actually different to the V&A. We were fine because we had tickets for the exhibition, but we noticed that people who just wanted to go into the V&A and not go to an exhibition had to have booked their tickets online previously. That brings us to Christmas this year in London. Mr. Sunny and I have already booked and paid for our tickets to Winter Wonderland. So far, Winter Wonderland is happening, but at a reduced capacity. And what they've done to regulate this is ask people to book their tickets online, and they are charging a small fee for them this year. So if there's a particular Christmas activity that you really want to go to in London, get online and see if you can book those tickets or have to book those tickets now. As I get ready to close the video, I want to have some fun with the sports fans. London actually did something really different this year, and that's not just that they hosted the Euros, but England was in them. Now, a lot of people thought it was coming home, and because of this, we would have an additional bank holiday. While there was a lot of parties leading up to that game, we actually didn't get that greatly anticipated and talked about bank holiday. However, something coming up in the future that we can all look forward to is an addition of a bank holiday next year for the reason of celebrating the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. Her Majesty will be the first British monarch to achieve a Platinum Jubilee. Officially, they take place from June 2nd to June 5th, which will in fact create an additional bank holiday to the 2022 calendar. Now, if you're planning a trip to London around that time, think about the fact that this is happening. It will be very popular and it is going to be very crowded, but a lot of fun in London during that time. If you want to see things that are happening in London and changes that are taking place on a regular basis, I always put things on my social media, but if you don't want to miss any announcements, you want to subscribe to the Sunny in London email, which I've linked below in the description. After all the things we've outlined, you could see London is still very volatile as of the publishing of this video. If you're just looking at a really long weekend, I would say go for it now. Now, if you're planning an international trip to avoid the most risk, you need to wait and consider perhaps not visiting until April of 2022 to maybe the end of June. I appreciate the time you took to watch the video, and I know of some really great things that are coming up in London, so keep watching the videos to make sure you don't miss anything.